Hello, everyone. So, a very good morning to all of you. So, we are going to discuss the rest of the part of the topic that we left in the last class. So, uh, the name of the topic was Stay Hungry, Stay Foolish, that we study in the last class, and we covered half of the things. And we learned that what in those of the session that how did the author talk about connecting the dots. He started discussing about three stories of his life. The first one is his birth and brought up. The second one is love and loss, and the third one is all about death. So in his born and brought up, so or in his birth and brought up, so we came to know that how did he um, discovered that he belonged to a family where his mother was unwed college graduate, and how she means made the author adopted to a lawyer family, but um, unfortunately the lawyer family wanted for a girl child, so finally he went to a means a couple so who have not even gone to um, schools and college, or graduated from college, or graduated from schools. So but finally, with the promise of um, sending the author to college, right? So fine means the author finally, author's mother accepted their proposal, right? So after this, we also know that what after 17 years, the author went to mm, college, but he did not like that, and he um, dropped out after 6 months going to college. But at the same time, he loved to attend the calligraphy course, and after that, how he used that calligraphy course into his typography when he discovered the Macintosh. Then we also came to know about how he started his one of the company called Apple, um, and he stated that what kind of difficulties he faced in his life. So even he was telling about means, during his dropping out from the college, so he did not have a place to sleep, and he did not have uh, money to eat food. So that's why he used to sell Coke bottles, and he used to go to 5 to 7 miles for that 5 to 7 miles every Sunday to that Hare Krishna temple to have a very good meal, right? So those of the things have been he stated. mm, and in the second part, he stated about love and loss. So he stated that how he loved what he means wanted to do in his life, and finally he was also succeed. So he stated means that how um, he and his friend started a company named Apple in his father's garage, and after 10 years, uh, you can say that when he turned 29 years, means um, his company turned a $2 billion company with a 4,000 employees. But at the same time, he also talked about that how when he turned 30, he was out of his company. So he also made a question that how could someone uh, uh, someone thrown out of his company, right? So that's why he felt depressed. Even he asked for the apology to David Packard, right? But at the same time, he was not getting that. So he decided to leave that place, right? But he did not to do that, because he realized that whatever he loved, right? So it's still with him. So that is why he decided to means start again, right? Start to get the success again. So from there means well start. So we find out that the author stated he did not see it then, but it turned out that getting fired from Apple was the best thing. Now imagine that. So someone who made his own company was thrown out of his company, right? And what would he do now, right? So that is why he realized at the present situation, right, that what it was the best thing held to him, right? So why did he say this? And he also said that means as he was thrown out of of that company, of his own company, so to get the success in his life, right, again coming to him, again coming to his mind, right, he was not sure about getting the success, right, but at the same time it freed him to enter one of the most creative periods of his life. It means like he realized that he had a chance to create, right, something new, right. So during the next 5 years, so he started next. He also created another company named Pixar. He also stated here that how he fell in love with an amazing woman and his personal life, right? So he stated that means he also got into married, right? And he stated that how his animated feature film computer company, right, Picture, so created a world's first computer animated feature film, Toy Story, right? And that is how means Pixar got the most successful animal animation studio in the world. And in a remarkable turn of events, right? So the company that threw him out, right? So that bought next. It means Apple bought next. So when Apple bought next, so Steve Jobs was invited to Apple again to his own position. And finally, the technology that was developed at the next was nothing but the heart of the Apple's current renaissance. So we see the beauty, the luxurious, and the quality of Apple's product because of the next, right? So next that produced the hardware of Apple, right? So that is why we can say next is at the heart of Apple's current birth, right? So the author stated, Lawrence and I have a wonderful family together. So who is Lawrence actually? Lauren is called as a means writer's wife. So Lauren and I have a wonderful family together. I'm pretty sure. So the author also stated that means I'm pretty sure none of this would have happened if he had not been fired off Apple or from Apple. So obviously, how did the author get the opportunity of means, creating Next and Pixar, right? If he had not been thrown out of his company, right? So that is why here it is stated, means it was the best thing to that happened to him, that he was thrown out of the company called Apple, which he created. So the author stated it was a really terrible testing medicine. It was powerful. Why it was called as powerful? Now, means obviously no one wants to get the test of failure, right? But at the same time, the author stated that it was a powerful testing medicine. It means it was something terrible, unique medicine. Which one is the terrible medicine? That's called as a getting failure, right? Getting failure is a testing medicine, powerful testing medicine. But the author also guessed the patient needed it. So everyone needs it. This is the advice, this is the suggestion the author did for the readers. So he made a beautiful quote here that is called as, sometimes life hits you in the head with a brick. Don't lose faith, right? So people lose faith when they get the problem in their life, when they find out the difficulties in their life. So they lose their faith. So the author also stated he was convinced that the only thing that kept him going was that he loved what he did. So he was convinced that what now this failure was required to him. This failure was required to him, right? Because of this failure, he understood. right? That something was there that actually made him the success. And that was what? Now, that the thing which he loved. So he also stated, you have got to find what you love, right? So you have got to find what you love means what? Anything that you do, right? You must do with, you must love to that thing, right? Whether you are means doing any kind of a job, whether you are studying or whether you are working or whether you are doing any kind of a business, right? You must have an interest into it, right? So if you have the interest into it, right, then you will definitely get the success. And that's what the author stated. You have got to find what you love, right? So, and that is as true for your work as it is for your lovers. Now imagine that if you're working hard, right, definitely you will get the success because that work also becomes your lover, and that lover also work for you, and that work also help you to achieve the success. Is not it? So that is why means it is true in either case. So you have got to find what you love, right? Your work is going to fill a large part of your life. So imagine that in life means we do work, and our work means our work allows us or take our half of time in our life, right? So in that case means if we do not do that work means in a proper manner or to well manner, right, we won't get the success, right? And the only way to be truly satisfied is to do what you believe is great work, right? So whatever you do, you give your trust into it, you give your belief into it, you should love into it or love to it. And the only way to do great work is love, to love what you do, right? If you have not found it yet, keep looking, right? The author's suggestion to the readers is called as a means, if you have not found your aim in your life, what you love to do, right? If you have not found it yet, so please search for it. Do not settle, right? So as with all matters of the heart, so everything depends upon your interest, right? Do not stay idle, right? You will know when you find it. When you find out your work and you love to do that, right? You will understand that how that work helps you to achieve your success. So, work is like any great relationship, right? So, it just gets better and better as the years roll on. So, here the meaning of roll on is called as a pass on. So, as the time passes, you will find out how your man's relationship with your work, relationship with the thing that you love, right, getting better and better. Like you talk about means you make a friendship, and as the friendship gets longer, and as your friendship means friendship becomes old, it also becomes so strong, right? No one can break it, right? So that is why time passes, relationship gets better. Similar to that means your love for the work, right, or your interest for that work, right, gets also strong, right? But it all matters of your heart, right? So as the time passes, so if you have, the author stated means suggestion that if you have not means if you have not found it yet, right, keep looking, search for it until you find it. You should not say stay settled, right? So the author's suggestion to the reader is called as a not to settle but to looking for it, right? So that is what the author presented in the in this particular passage. So what we actually draw from this particular passage, that what now the author pointed two things. One is called as a means how did he overcome from his failure, right? How did he achieve um, the success after getting thrown out of the company called Apple, and how did he means advise to his readers to uh, go for the things that they love, and if they have not found it yet, so uh, keep looking for it. That's what he pointed. Okay, now we will move to the next part, the third story of the writer's life, that is about death. So it is the third story of the writer in the in the topic called "Stay Hungry, Stay Foolish." In the third story, he stated about the death, and he stated that when he was just 17 years old, the writer read a quote. Right, the meaning of quote is called as a saying, great saying. Right, so great saying. When you talk about this great saying, what did he say? When he was 17, he read a quote that went something like that. If you live each day as if it was your last, someday be you will most certainly be right. Now look into it. What does he say? So he read a quote, and that quote is, if you live each day as if it was your last, someday you will most certainly be right. It made an impression on me. So, what was the meaning of this quote? It means what? The author wanted to give a suggestion to the reader that what? Now, every day you think that it was your last day. If you think that it was your last day, you would definitely do all those new things, and you would not even stay idle, right? You would try to do means most of the work in that day, right? And if you take every day like that, right, so you will do a lot of things in that time, right? And someday you will probably find out that your dead day also. So it becomes easy to handle, right? So the author also stated it made an impression on me. So it means the author also means found very interesting, and also he pointed how did this quote change him. He stated since then, for the past 30 years, right? Past 30 years, he had he had looked in the mirror every morning and asked himself that whether today were the last day of his life, and he wanted to do what he was about to do today or that day. So if you look into that, so he practiced that. He practiced that. He stood in front of the mirror. He was asking himself that whether it was his last day of his life or not, and whether he did something new that day or not. And whenever the answer he got that no, he did not do means something new for many days in a row, right? And he decided to change that, right? So it's very clear, the idea is very clear here, that what now the author advised the students to means do something new every day, right? So make the life, make the life uh, beautify by doing something new, and means engage in a new activities. That's what you could find out. So not to stay certain. So that is the reason whenever the author found out like he did not do something new, right, for many a days, so he tried to change himself, right? So remembering, he also advised that remembering that he would be dead soon is the most important tool he had ever encountered to help him make the big choices in life, right? So what do we draw actually? We know that death is something inevitable, right? Surely happen, right? So, but knowing that death is very soon coming to you, right? And to face that, right? It's called as a big choices, right? Big choices. Like you know that means after 2 months or after 3 months you are going to die, right? So that helped you to do what? Now make changes in your life, make choices in your life, right? Because almost everything, all external expectations, right? So all pride, all fear of embarrassment or failure, these things just fall away in the face of death, Now imagine that. Why do we do all such kind of a things? Like people have lots of materialistic desire. They wanted to have a house, car, so means jewelry, beauty, right? So means and lots of expectations in their life, right? They do have also pride, right? They do have also pride, like for their position, for their knowledge, for their skills, for their achievements. So they do have the pride, right? So all fear of embarrassment or failure. So even people do have also um, fear of what, getting insult, getting failure. So, but at the same time, if you know that you are going to die, right? So, what about those expectations? What about those pride, and what about those insult and failure? So, those of the things are something called as a nothing in front of the face of death. That's what the author stated. That before death, everything is null, everything is uh, useless, vain, right? Only important thing in the life is called as a death. Remembering that you are going to die is the best way, to avoid the trap of thinking you have something to lose. So if you know that you are going to die, so that means there is nothing to lose. You are already naked. You are not going to take with you everything or anything, right? There is no reason not to follow your heart. So that is why the author stated that means you must follow your interest. You try to achieve, right, what you want to achieve during that, or you try to get those of the things whatever you want to have it, right? So in during that period of time. So this is a very philosophical and also means you know motivational speech that he made, right? So fine. After that, the author also discussed that how, about a year ago, he was diagnosed with cancer. He stated one of the incident of his life, that how he was diagnosed with cancer. He had a scan at 7:30 in the morning. So, and it clearly showed a tumor. So, tumor is nothing but a small flesh, right, that increase in size in the author's pancreas, right? So, the meaning of pancreas is indicating to the, inside your belly, right? So, it's again means one of the physical part, right? So the author stated that means he clearly found a tumor on his pancreas, and he did not even know what a pancreas was, right? Even many of the means people do not know what a pancreas was, right? So the doctors told him that this was almost certainly a type of cancer. So it was the author, right, who was informed that means he was suffering from a cancer, and that cancer is not able to cure. So in that case, the author should expect to live no longer than 3 to 6 months. Imagine the author who was suffering from cancer and was informed by the doctor, and was also told to author that what he should be expected, or he should expect to live no longer than 3 to 6 months. It means the author had a lifespan of 3 to 6 months. So his doctor advised him to go home and get his affairs in order. Affairs in order means whatever the work he has, right? He have. So he needs to means sort it out. Sort it out in those 3 to 6 months. Sort it out means he resolve it, right, in 3 to 6 months, which is doctor's code for prepared to die, right? So what the doctor wanted to convey here, that author is going to die, and he's supposed to complete all his household activities, or called as whatever legal and personal matters should be solved, right? And that is what called as a preparation for death. It means to try to tell you, the author stated, means the meaning of doctor's statement is called as to tell my kids or tell the author's kids everything you thought you would have the next 10 years to tell them in just a few months. It means the time that you spent with your kids for 10 years, right? So that you're supposed to do it in those few months. It means to make sure everything is buttoned up, everything is buttoned up, everything is settled, that it will be as easy as possible for your family. So you need to give your time to your family and need to solve so that it becomes easier for your family member to live a peaceful life further. It means to say your family goodbyes. So the author stated that how he lived with that diagnosis. Diagnosis means with that means symptoms of the cancer, and identified that what kind of a disease he was. So he lived with that disease all day, and later that evening he had a biopsy. So biopsy is called as a kind of a means treatment through which means the doctors try to means check your means tumor, right? So by sending something into your means inside body. So the author stated that how he had a biopsy, and where means the doctors, so they refers to doctors, means put an endoscope, right, down my throat. So put something that called as a put one of the needles, surgical needle, into my throat, through through the stomach and into my intestine, right? Putting through your stomach and putting through your stomach and into the intestine. And what they did, they put a needle into my pancreas, and they got a few cells from the tumor, right? And means whether the author was there, means seeing all those things, no, he was just sedated. Sedated means getting unconscious, right? But his wife, who was there, told him that means told the author that they viewed the cells under a microscopes. So they viewed what? Now those cancer cells under a microscope, because it cannot be seen in naked eye. So they viewed the cells under a microscope. The doctors started crying. Why? Now, because means it turned out to be a very rare form of pancreatic cancer. So the author stated that how it was very pathetic and also pancreatic. It was nothing but of means unusual pancreatic cancer, which is curable with the surgery, right? That is curable. So that pancreatic cancer can be curable. And the author stated that means he did the surgery and he was fine then, right? So he was fine then. So it means he proved wrong. Means whatever the doctor said about, right, the cancer and his lifespan, that he would only live 3 to 6 months, right? So he proved them wrong, right? So that is what the author stated. This was the closest I have been facing. I have been to facing death. It means he experienced. I have been to facing death means he experienced the death. He hoped it was the closest I get for a few more decades. So he said that with this thought he would go for the next few more decades. He stated how did means he lived through it. How did he live through it, right? And he could now say this to you with a bit more surety than when death was a useful but purely intellectual concept. So that's what he wanted to tell his audience and the readers, that what the death was something which is called as a means, if we say that purely a valuable and also skillful concept. Why it was called as a purely intellectual concept? Because it gave us a lesson in life. right? So that's what he beautified. He even stated, no one wants to die. Look into it. So, what did he say about that death? That he stated means no. How does death is called as a purely intellectual concept? Because you point out, no one wants to die. Even people who want to go to heaven don't want to die to get there. Is not it? Like, yes, means people who bless us, people who always pray to God, people who always means live their life in a very free manner, and they pray to the God, right? They do not also want to die soon, right? So, and you will also find out that they were they all are afraid of death, right? So yet death is the destination we all share. So that is why the author stated means, but at the same time, it is the means it is the fact, or it is fact. Why it is called as a fact? Now because it is the fact where we all have to means share with each other or one another. No one has ever escaped from death, and that is as it should be. Right. Yes, it is true. Because death is likely the single best invention of life. If you see that, the change of life is nothing but death. And this is nothing but a life change agent. Which one is the life change agent? Now, that's called as a death. Because if you think that anything that changed in life, it's called as a death. It is the antonym of life. It clears out the old to make way for the new, right? So that suggests that how means when the old will go, then only the new will come out, right? And the author means pointing to the all those Stanford University youngsters that what the new is who? That the new is those of the young generation people. But someday those young generation people also means gradually become the old, and they will be also cleared away. Cleared away means they will also have to face the death, right? And means a new will come out. So the author was, while speaking all those things before the Stanford University people, so or students, he was very dramatic in his speech. But at the same time, whatever he was saying was quite right, or quite true. So he stated, "Your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life." Like we have a kind of a thought in our mind, like we would be like him, or like her, right? So, and we are motivated by others, we are influenced by others. So that's what the author stated, that your time is very limited, so you should not waste your time by living someone else's life, or not to copy others, right? Not to influence by others. So don't be trapped by dogma. So the meaning of dogma is called as influence, right? So the author's suggestion is called as not to be, caught or trapped by or influenced by any people, right? So which is living with the results of other people's thinking. Like means if you believe that you want to be like him, or if you are motivated, or if you are means influenced, right, by others word, always remember that whatever he was saying, whatever she was doing, or whatever means he was following the principles. It is his principle, it is her principle. Based on his or her principle, he lives his life, right? If you are following his principle, it means you are living his life, right? And do not live, right? um, do not live means other people's principle, right? So, and because you will get the result of other people's thinking, right? So don't allow, the author's statement is called as do not allow the influence of others opinion. Do not allow means those of the statement of others opinion, right, to put you, right, to put into your inner voice, right? So the author is simply saying that what, not to influence by others opinion, right? Not allow others opinion into your mind. And most important, always have the courage to follow your heart and intuition. So he also suggested that what believe in yourself, believe in your knowledge. They somehow already know what you truly want to become. So what you want to, or what you are, what you want to become, so you only know, right? So you should not means believe on others. Everything else is secondary. So the author stated that you believe yourself and rest of the things are means secondary part. So the author means again stated another incident of his life by saying that when he was young, there was an amazing publication called the Whole Earth Catalog, right? It is nothing but a one of the means you can say that magazine or means article which was one of the Bibles. You can say that which was one of the Bibles. So you can say that amazing publication means you can say that a magazine. So there was an amazing publication called the Whole Earth Catalog, which was one of the Bibles. Why it is called as Bibles? Because most of the religious and philosophical and beautiful quotes have been mentioned. So and that particular magazine used to publish during the author's generation, right? The author stated it was created by a fellow whose name was Stewart Brand, not far from here. Not far from here means what? That's called as a Stanford University too, right? Menlo Park, right? So he stated it was created by a fellow named Stewart Brand, not far from here in Menlo Park. So he stated that very means very close to that place, right? So and he brought it to life with his poetic touch. So Stewart Brand wrote many of the articles and poems, right? And how did he publish that the whole Earth catalog with his poem, right, or with his poetic touch? So that actually attracts the lot, that actually attracts the poet, uh, attracts the author a lot. So the author stated this was in the 1960s, right, before personal computer and desktop publishing, right? So it means during the 1960s the whole Earth catalog was published, right? And at that time personal computer and desktop publishing was not so fame, right, or famous. So it was all. So then how did that the whole Earth catalog get prepared and published? Now the author said it was all made with typewriters, scissors, and Polaroid cameras. So people used to typing, right, and then after they cut that article, and then after they take the photo, right, with a Polaroid cameras. It was a it was sort of like Google in paperback form. 35 years before Google came along, right? It was idealistic. So Google was idealistic, right? So Google came along. So it was idealistic and overflowing with the neat tools and great notions. So the author also praised Google here. So while the author was telling about the whole Earth catalog, the author also talked about Google and stating about that how Google helps uh, Google helps people, right, to informed, to be informed. And also, means the author also stated that how Google becomes idealistic and people follow Google all the time, right? So excessive information can be drawn from the Google, right? So next, in the last paragraph, we draw Stewart and his team, right? Stewart and his team put out several issues of the whole Earth catalog, right? So, means, and then when it had run its course, remember the meaning of run its course is called as they are going to publish their uh, last publication. It means after that they are not going to publish anything, any more, uh, you know, um, issue, right? Or it can be called as a run its course means they are going to end the publication. So they put out a final issue. right? It was the mid 1970s. So it was the year of 1970s, and the author stated he was the age of means the youngest people who just graduated, right? So he stated on the back cover of their final issue. So on the back cover of their final issue means the whole Earth catalogs, right? So means published its final issue, and the back cover of that final issue there was a photograph of an early morning country road, right? So the kind you might find yourself hitchhiking, the kind you might find yourself hitchhiking. So remember, the meaning of hitchhiking is called as a like early morning you go for jogging, and also cycling, and also you can find out the mountainous area where mist and fog covers and the beautiful scenery, right? So and early morning if you go to the roadside, you will find out that how the road uh, covers with the mist and snow, right? It seems beautiful. Even you will find out the sky looks beautiful, right? So the meaning of hitchhiking is called as the atmosphere of the early morning, or the environment of the early morning, right? If you were so adventurous, so definitely who can identify that? The people who are adventurous, people who are uh, means people who love to means climbing mountains, or called as a running, jogging, right? Those of the people understand that. So beneath, so it is stated that the kind you might find yourself hitchhiking on if you were so adventurous. So photo, beneath that photo, right, something was written. What was that? Now stay hungry, stay foolish. So what is that? Stay hungry, stay foolish. That's what the author stated. It was their farewell message. It was their farewell message means what? Now, as they were going to run their course, and that is why they put out their final issue. So they sent the farewell message is called as a stay hungry, stay foolish. As they signed off, as they say goodbye. Stay hungry, stay foolish. And I have always wished that for myself. And now, as you graduate to begin anew, I wish that for you. I wish, that means I wish, stay hungry, stay foolish for you. Stay hungry, stay foolish. So, the meaning of this stay hungry, stay foolish is what? It says that even if you know everything, but never stop learning more, you always stay hunger for knowing more information, right? The day you feel like you know much, you do not need to learn more. That day you become fool, right? Or that day you become foolish. That's what means. The publication want to convey the message to its people, and that's what the author Steve Paul Jobs want to send this message to the students of the Stanford University, as well as the readers who read this, right? So this is something called as a beautiful, suggestive, and also motivational, philosophical uh, excerpt, or the article that the author Steve Paul Jobs presented before the readers. Thank you all very much. Hope you understood this beautiful uh, articles, and you collect all those positive ideas from it. If you like it, please do comment your opinion and views. I would love to read those. Thank you.